Hello, beautiful family. So you welcome. I hope we had a beautiful day. It was a busy one, a very busy one, but at least we had to make our time so we can continue our discussion. Right? So we have said that an addiction is a repetitive, compulsive way or pattern of carrying out a behavior. All right. And on this very discussion, we have also break down the different forms of addiction. Where we talked about screen addiction, we talked about sex addiction, we talked about substance use addiction, we talked about social media addiction, there's dependence addiction, there is also food addiction, there's gambling addiction. But for this night, we're going to be talking about gambling addiction. All right. And what we want to pick out from gambling addiction, which is discussion part one, is I want to look at it calmly from the aspect of the signs, the symptoms, its effect on the individual. We're going to look at that. So, gambling addiction is a devastating mental health condition that can actually ruin the individual health, reputation, it can ruin his career, and almost everything that has an individual. And that's why it shouldn't be treated lightly. All right. Now, it can be regarded as it can also be regarded as a compulsive gambling. Then another name is gambling. How do we then define gambling addiction? We said that gambling addiction is a mental health disorder characterized by the pattern includes. So here we mean that before you say is having a gambling addiction, you must check out for the following things, following patterns. The first one is that preoccupation to gamble. There will be a preoccupation on that individual to gamble. And the second thing to look out for is that there is a need to gamble with increased money. The individual will increasingly want to increase the amount that he or she has been gambling on, with the hope that the more you put into it, the better the outcome. That those who are actually winning are those that have actually risked or stake much into it. And then the second thing is that there's that restlessness or irritability when trying to stop or reduce gambling. The individual will be suffering from either restlessness or will be irritable because he or she is actually trying to stop the act of gambling. And then there's a repetitive unsuccessful effort to control or stop gambling. That individual has a repetitive pattern, that repetitive uh, effort, unsuccessful effort. He is trying to stop it, but those efforts are actually unsuccessful. They're actually failing. He or she cannot stop that gambling by his or her self-will. All right. And then there's that gambling also can be done by this individual to escape from problem or to relieve the anxiety or tension that comes from not gambling. All right. Or the depression that comes from the struggle. He or she will want to continue. So when you see all this pattern, it tells you that this individual is suffering from gambling addiction, also known as compulsive gambling or pathological gambling. The next thing we need to look at, what are those signs and symptoms one would see in an individual, and then you say that this person is suffering from gambling addiction. What are those things to look out for? The first one is that spending more and more time and money on gambling. The individual will spend more and more time, more and more money on gambling. He's preoccupied with spending money on gambling. What is the next thing to look out for? Is that there is that feeling, that strong feeling or urge or that craving to gamble. So the urge, the craving to gamble is actually a strong one for the individual, a very strong urge. And then there's also that feeling of anxiety or irritability when the individual is unable to gamble. Maybe as a result of the venue is not close to the individual, or he or she does not have sufficient money, or some there is that feeling of anxiety and irritability this individual. Thank you so much, Blessing. I can see you. God bless you. For everyone that are just connecting, if you actually like content like this that relates with addiction, or you have someone suffering from it, and then you have been thinking, how do I know where to come in for that individual? How do I know whether my person, my siblings, is suffering from this addiction? Then this particular series is for you. Why not click that thumbs up button? That button that you see it like a thumbs up, right? Just click it. That's the like button. Or you can as well subscribe to this channel so that content like this would come your way whenever they are released or posted. All right. So as we were saying, we say that the following things you should look out for in an individual suffering from gambling addiction. The first one is that you see the individual spending more and more time and money on gambling, and then you will feel a strong urge or craving, which is why most of them it's difficult for them to stop. That craving, that urge is very strong. And then when they cannot gamble, they become restless, they become irritable in nature. Anything can easily anger them. They feel bored, they feel something is missing. And then for some individual, they'll be using debt or financial means to support the gambling habit. So what do we mean here? We mean that the individual doesn't mind selling his or her own valuable property or using it as collateral just to gamble. And for some, they keep owing debt upon debt just to aid them to gamble in this individual. Then for most of them, they are used to lying. They will lie to family and friends about the extent of the gambling habit. In fact, I've managed a client who sold out a landed property, not even sold out, so was it even sold out? I am calling that dash out a landed property at I think there or 150,000 naira just for him. And then when he was asked about what happened and everything that transpired, he was lying that the money was not used for gambling. Oh yeah, what was he used for? He couldn't make account of all the money, and he has sold out a lot of his property. So gambling addiction can make most of them susceptible to lying. They will resort to lying. And then for a good number of them, because people are already complaining of this, and then possibly they have sold out almost everything they had, but this compulsion is there. This anxiety and restlessness when they don't gamble is much for them. They will start feeling guilty and ashamed about the gambling condition where they find themselves. A good number of them will feel guilty. For some, they will be ashamed to even face others. And because of this, there are these three things which are common for every other forms of addiction. The shame, guilt, and then isolation. So they'll be ashamed, they'll feel extreme guilt, and then they isolate themselves from other persons. They tend to run away from the gatherings of other persons. So this is one challenge that persons who are actually suffering from gambling addiction they encounter. And then what again can we look out for? The old debt. Which amount of debt for a good number of them? So a good amount of debt. That will take us next to the causes of gambling addiction. What are the possible factors that are responsible, that can predispose or precipitate the atmosphere of gambling? The first one has to do with genetics. Now, in this aspect of genetics, it simply means that anyone in the family in the past that must have been suffering from any form of addiction could prune the younger generation to be susceptible, to be prone to gambling addiction. So when there is history of an addiction, any form of addiction at all, whether substance, whether sex, anyone at all, it will make the younger generation susceptible and prone to gambling addiction. And then gambling addiction most times go in pari pursuit with substance addiction. So in aspect of genetics, we have said that when there is history of an addiction, there's possibility that the younger generations can also go into gambling addiction. The next one, brain chemistry. Whenever there is an imbalance in the brain chemistry, what we mean here is the neurotransmitter, especially the serotonin and then dopamine, which gives an individual the feelings of high, which gives a reward. All right. So until the individual gamble, that serotonin to make the individual feel comfortable, relax, or feel he has done anything worthwhile. So that is another factor that's responsible for gambling addiction. That's another factor responsible for it, where there is an imbalance in the brain chemistry. Might even be the one part of the brain having dysfunction too. So another one is environmental, where there is the individual grew up from an environment. It may not even be in fact, what we need to know that is gamble can express itself, not just the Niger bet we know, the sporty bet. It can involve even football, soccer that people play on the field. They will put money to play the soccer. And then a couple of them may even be in the form of all this. For some that stand on the roadside, they'll use match, and then with groundnut to exchange. If you can pick the right one, you pick so amount. So gambling can come in different forms. Some are even the lotto, some online. So gambling can express itself in different forms. So when an individual grew up in an environment where these acts are common, he or she will be susceptible to gambling addiction, will be prone to gambling addiction. The next thing we have to look out for is the aspect of the peer pressure. So when there are issues with peer pressure, you see the other one will be advising, why not try? I have won. Oh, me, anytime I gamble, I used to win so amount of money. It will learn to also make an attempt as to gambling. All right. And then where the venues are closer to those individual places where people gamble, it can also predispose or precipitate the possibility for that individual to gamble or to go into gambling addiction. And then we also have where people are involved in substance abuse. It can prune the individual to that. And then other mental health conditions such as anxiety and depression can lead the individual into gambling addiction. That will take us to the next one, which is the impact or effect of gambling addiction on the individual. Now, on the individual, financial wise, he or she will be owing debt, to a tune of a greater amount of money, will be owing debt. And then for a good number of them, they must have given their property out for collateral. A good number of them may even carry the maybe money you borrowed them, they'll carry it to gamble, they'll use it to gamble. And then for some, they'll be owing debt, huge amount of money. Some on the site, they have borrowed different all these loan app. They have borrowed certain amount of money from different loan apps just to aid them to gamble. So financially, the individual will be suffering, cannot keep money or use it for something useful or meaningful. The next one is relationship wise. The friends and family of that individual will not trust him. There will be issue, there will be constraint in the relationship of that individual. The third one has to do with mental health. Gambling addiction comes with depression, it comes with anxiety, and then physical health problems. There could be issue with sleep disorder. The individual is already preoccupied with gambling, even when he's trying to sleep. The mind, there's that compulsion that won't even allow the individual to sleep. And then digestive problem. And then there will also be cardiovascular problem. If you can't gamble, you see the individual will become agitated. Blood pressure level will rise. The individual will be unstable, restless. So those are the physical effects of gambling on the individual. Then the next one is that with gambling addiction as to the family, the individual family too would not be proud of that individual. And for some, they might even isolate him. They might isolate the individual. They might not want to identify themselves with the person. And then on the community, instead of having a productive community where the community has an atmosphere environment that encourages gambling, the productivity level will reduce because they are looking for fast way of making money. That will take us next to treatment options available for gambling addiction. We have cognitive behavioral therapy, which involve you trying to restructure or change the pattern of thinking of that individual to see that gambling addiction is not the normal route for making money. That you can actually do other things to make money. So as I said earlier, if you're yet to give this live stream a thumbs up, please do well to like the live stream, do well to comment, do well to share it on your WhatsApp platform, your Facebook platform, so that if you have someone, anyone at all that will be viewing your status, your post, and so on, and then is suffering from this gambling addiction, this very discussion could serve as a channel, an avenue for them to get a solution. All right. So do well to share, do well to subscribe. If you also love content like this, and then so that whenever the content like this are posted, you'll be among those ones that will see it quite on time. So, as we said earlier, when it comes to the treatment option, we have cognitive behavioral therapy, where the target is to make the individual see things how they're supposed to be in reality. Now, gambling is not the best route for making money. That you can do something productive. You can make yourself productive and then earn a clean money that will not be putting you in tension or anxiety. That will give you a sense of responsibility. That will give you that dignity. All right? Because most persons have suffered a whole lot of loss from gambling. Imagine someone's taking a tune of about £1 million in gambling, and then that gambling did not turn out as expected. So you see, a lot are being lost in gambling. So what cognitive behavioral therapy seems to do or seeks to do or sought to do is to restructure the individual pattern of thinking to see a better way of handling this condition. And then next one is that medications can be used by clinicians. So when you take the individual to meet a trained personnel that is certified to handle this condition, they'll place him on medication that will help him handle the anxiety of gambling. Because I have said earlier, gambling comes with certain level of pressure, certain level of discomfort and anxiety. So what the medication will do is to calm the individual. And then for some, it come with depression, which is a result of maybe the individual is trying to quit but cannot quit, and then is now feeling guilty, is feeling ashamed of his or herself, and is even going to the extent of isolating himself from other person. So the medication will handle the depressive component. The next one is that support group. We have support groups such as Gambler Anonymous group, where they will share the ideas between themselves. How in this group, the philosophy is that those ones who have been able to come out freely out of gambling addiction, they want to share their experience with other persons, their strategy of how they were able to quit it, the loss they sustained through gambling, and then how they were able to pull out so that other persons will learn from their story. So that's the role of gambling or gambler anonymous group. So the individual can also choose to associate himself with that group so that they'll be able to learn more from people who have been able to successfully come out of gambling. The next thing is that residential treatment may be advisable in the chronic phase. So they may need to admit the individual so that the individual will not have access, will not have that access to go and gamble, will not have that access. So now what are the ways? I don't know if you are still there. If you can still hear me, please do well to comment. Just type on the comment box. Let me know that you can still get me. Please do well to type on the comment box. I want to believe that we can get me. And if you are not getting me, please do well to type on the comment box that you can get me. Type on the comment box that you can get me so that I will know we are all together, please. All right. I can see us typing. Thank you so much. I can see us typing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. So, how do we prevent gambling addiction? The first one is that you have to set limits. For that individual, he has to set limits for himself, set limits for his money. How to, we call it financial management. You have to set that limit on what you spend. Reduce, you start little, gradual, you start gradually, step by step to reduce spending on gambling. And then you reduce the time you spend online trying a place where they gamble. You try to reduce that time. The next one is to avoid triggers. So we have, for those persons who may not really know in details what triggers mean, you will check on this platform, this channel. You'll see where we have talked about trigger in details. So do well to check up that content. We'll talk about triggers and cravings. So trigger is just an external factor that serves as a clue or pointer that will lead an individual suffering from any form of addiction to go back to that addiction, to relapse. All right. So you avoid your triggers. If it is people that gamble, you avoid them. You don't engage yourself in their discussion, in their gathering, and in their midst, so that they will not lure you back to gambling. So you avoid all your triggers. If it has to do with substance, avoid. Once you can quit the substance, you can be able to think right, and then you'll be able to avoid the gambling. So avoid your triggers, things that will lead you back or point you back to gambling. You can't be working where the venues where gambling are taking place, and then you feel that you'll be able to effectively manage your gambling. So you shouldn't work in those environments. The next one is that you have to seek support, either from friends, family, or their support groups, to help you out when you are having this anxiety, so you can have someone to talk to. That's the purpose of the support group. You need someone to talk to in most instances. So you have to identify yourself with them. You may need your family member, you may need your friend. This pressure is putting you through. And then self-care, which will involve things like exercises. You have to exercise yourself, which will serve as a diversional therapy. You meditate, and then you engage in your hobbies. With this, that urge will start dying down. The urge, right? Oh, sorry about that. I think my light just went off. Let me see how to put up. All right, I think I'm still here with us. Just a moment, I will turn on my light again, okay? So, the next thing we want to look at is call to action. What are the action points for you listening to me? For you who may be suffering from gambling addiction, for you who may have someone that is actually suffering from this condition, what are the action points? First of all, you or someone suffering from it, or that have someone that is suffering from it, you need to seek help immediately. Know that gambling addiction is not easy to just quit like that. Seek help immediately. Speak out so that someone can be able to help you. And then professionals, for you need to seek the help from professionals for guidance and support. So you need to reach out to professionals who are experts in this area so they can be able to guide you and to put you through. And then self-care practices such as the exercise we have said, watching movies, playing games, and so on, just to serve as a diversional therapy. There are moments for meditation and so on. And then advocate for policies and programs. So there will be need to carry out advocacy and to set out policies that one incorporates persons that does gambling addiction. There should be awareness campaign so that individual will not be tempted to go into gambling, but rather will have the desire to work to make legitimate money. And then palliative can be given that it is a result of a harsh economic society. So I want to believe we'll be able to learn a lot. At this point, before we wrap, any question, any suggestion, why not type it in the comment box, and then I'll be here to respond to us. Any question, any suggestion as we're about wrapping up, let us know in the comment box. And if you are yet to give this live stream a thumbs up, just click on that like button. All right. And then you can also do what to share this live stream on your Facebook, on your Twitter, on your WhatsApp, and so on. It will be a means to help someone out there. So any question, let me know in the comment box. Any question, any suggestion, any opinion. Any suggestion, let us know in the comment box. Any opinion at all. In the absence of any question, the absence of any suggestion and so on, I want to believe we really understand. And then at this point, we need to call it a day. I think on our next meeting, we should be talking about the circle of change. So there will be a lot you will learn out of that discussion. Do well to connect when we are it. Do well to connect. So thank you so much for this very opportunity for us to interact together. I look forward to that moment where this live stream becomes your most favorite click. If you're yet to subscribe, please do well to click that subscribe button below. And you can drop your comments and opinion in the comment box. Looking forward to see you subsequently. God bless you all. Take care. Bye. Bye for now.